DDM 2024.07 sees a number of enhancements to the web client in addition to the enhancements around the configurable dashboard. I'm going to log into the web client here. I'm going to log in as Stuart McBurney. Okay, now the first thing that we've modified is we've changed the layout of the burger menu. So in order to access your preferences and account, etc., it's on this mini burger bar. Now some of these settings were previously over on the right hand side and it was a little bit disjointed, so we've moved everything under the left hand side so that as you open the burger menu all of your options are in front of you. The other thing that we've added is a home button, so that if you're somewhere else in the database looking at things, some people didn't understand that the logo was also a home button, so we've added a home button here. Okay, now the next change is not a visual change, but we have issued notification that we are obsoleting the unlimited read-only web license. What we have introduced is a single concurrent read-write user license for the web. Now, in addition to this, if you are not using a DDM CAD license, then you could use that as a web license as well. And if you're not using your Office licenses, they can also be used as web licenses. Now, the new single concurrent user web licenses, they're read-write, and they have a minimum 15-minute drop time. So if you're doing a read-write function within the web and then are inactive for 15 minutes, the license will drop in the background in order to optimize concurrency on your floating licenses. If you want any further information about the obsolescence of the old web client and the introduction of the new web client, please contact your sales representative. Okay. The next change is the ability to unreserve items from a folder. To demonstrate this, I'm going to go in and find a document. It's a technical document and it is a safety data sheet. So I'm going to pick on this safety data sheet. It's just an example. Previously, I already had the ability to reserve into a folder, so I'm going to reserve this onto my workbench. Okay, if I go back to my workbench in here, we can see that I have this file reserved onto my workbench. We do have the ability to unreserve files now, so if I say I now want to unreserve this file. Okay, so the new enhancement is the ability to unreserve items. Doesn't need to be a document, it could be a part assembly, drawing or document, but through the web client you can now unreserve items. The next option is the ability to upissue an item. So if I take this safety data sheet as an example, it's currently a released document. I'm going to start by reserving this to my workbench. Okay, and I now have the ability to upissue an item. So if I go back to my mini burger menu, I can now use the upissue function on this document. It's going to go from issue 1 to issue 2. Clearly this can also be overridden if you want to use major minor revisionings or alphanumeric. I'm going to reserve my new issue of the document to my workbench. I'm going to give it a change number. Let's just put in a simple 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we are going to update document title, for example. So I've now created a new issue of this document, which is what I'm seeing on the screen here. So document 35015 issue 2, work in progress. Okay, and it's reserved in my workbench. The next enhancement is the ability to change the status. But before I do that, what we should do is we should download the native file. So I'm going to download the native file here, and let's say we've changed the header bar here, and all we're going to do, I'm not in edit mode, so let me just do this and go into edit mode anyway. If I select this, I'm going to change the color of the title there, and I'm going to save this to my local machine. I'm going to save it into this area on my local machine like so. So I can close the document. Now what I can do here is attach a new file, and I can attach a new file because it's work in progress and because I have it reserved and I have the access controls. I'm going to attach my new file, and I'm going to browse to it in here, and there is my new file, and I'm going to attach it like so. Okay, now attaching a file, you could do that in the previous version of the web client. What I can now do in the web client is we're currently work in progress. I'd like to change the status of my file. I could go to checked and then released. I'm going to go straight to released. I'm going to change the status. This document has now been released. So I've reserved a file to a folder. I've up-issued the file. I've updated the file and uploaded the new file, and now I've changed the status of the file to released. So closing that whole loop down. If I refresh my screen, if I look here, we have the new uploaded file in here. Okay, the next enhancement relates to attachments. If I browse to a part, I'm going to go to a manufactured mechanical part, a bearing housing, standard bearing housing. Well, I've got an example in here of a Creo file, and this enhancement applies to all file types. But if I go to this model now, if I look in my settings under preferences settings, under general, when viewing a part or assembly, we can control which of the attachments is viewed when you click on the thumbnail image. Okay, so the example I'm using here is a Creo PVZ file. It might be that you're using SolidWorks and you've got step attachments or STL, etc. So I'm just going to use PVZ. Let me save that as my preferred option. And if I go back to this part, in fact, if I just go to my recent files, this is the file that I'm looking at. And now if I click on the thumbnail, rather than just seeing a larger thumbnail, this will now open this into the Creo viewer that supports PVZ files. So the ability to click on the thumbnail of a part or assembly in the web client and for it to open in whatever your preferred viewer is based on the MIME type of that file. Okay, the next enhancement, let me close this off. The next enhancement is the ability to add folder link level attributes in the web client. If we go to the Office client, if I go to this change order, let me just open the change order in its own window. Well, in here, what we can have is we can have link attributes. So stock action and order action. If I go to my column chooser, we've got the folders attributes, but what we also have are folder content link attributes. So what I can do now, I'm going to add a part to this change order. First of all, I'm going to take control of the change order. So as a member of engineering, I'm going to take control of this change order. What I'm then going to do, I will pin the folder, and I'm going to go back into DDM, and let's say, for example, I'm just going to reference them into it for now. Okay. So into my change order, I've now referenced these files. Now, if I was doing an impact assessment, for example, I might want to look at the link attributes I'm just going to turn them on. Okay, so we've got stock quantity and stock action, order quantity and order action. Okay, so the example here is if you were doing an impact assessment before modifying this part, we might want to check how many we have in stock. Well, it might be that we've got 20 in stock and we need to maybe rework or scrap the stock. So let's say there's 0 on order and therefore no action required. So these link level attributes, and let's say update housing rad to 25 millimeters. Okay, so these attributes are not attributes on the folder and they're not attributes against the part. They are link level attributes between the part and the folder. Previously, you could not see those in the web client. So I'm going to go to 22761, which is my change order number. And here is my change order. If I look inside my change order, the columns that I have displayed in here are not the link level attributes. So if I'm looking in here, I want to be able to see the link level attribute information. Okay, so what I can do here is I can go to my column chooser for change orders, and if we scroll down, we have attributes here that have link attribute in brackets at the end. So I can say, yes, I want notes, I want order action, I want stock quantity. Those are the attributes that I want to add. If I now scroll down into here, I can decide the order that I want those. Now I want notes at the bottom or at the end, stock quantity and stock action, and then order quantity, order action, and then save my settings. Now I'm looking inside my folder, and what we can now see is against this part in the change order, we can see the stock quantity, the stock action, etc. So these columns are now visible inside the web client. You can also save the column layout by logging in as an administrator, set all of your columns up, and then you can save the settings against a profile in the database so that when other users log in, they get the same settings. That was a previous enhancement, so I won't go through it today, but if you want to be able to set columns inside the DDM web client as default for other users, then contact CSI. Okay. The next option is the ability for, now I'm logged in as an internal user, so I have my favorites bar here, which are all of my saved searches. If I log out as Stuart and I log in as sample supplier, we now also get the favorites option in here. So if I've run a search and I want to save it as one of my favorites, I can, and I've got some that I've added in here, a simple one, Joe test, and it's just a query on the local database. So the ability for restricted web users to have access to favorites and saved favorites. They will not see favorites that are created by any other user or internal user. So the favorites available to a restricted web user, i.e. a supplier or a customer client, etc., are restricted to only their favorites. So lots of really nice enhancements to the DDM web client for 2024.07.